Calling from a 630 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This is Eric from Chicago.
Eric from Chicago. What's on your mind, Eric?
I'm assuming you guys have seen this stuff with the whole Aurora, Colorado thing, right?
The what?
The supposed Venezuelan gangs taking over Aurora, Colorado apartment buildings.
No, I haven't heard anything about this.
Oh, so it's a common thing right now on the right where they're claiming that a Venezuelan gang has taken over an apartment building with snipers on the roofs in Aurora, Colorado.
What?
And it's taken a lot of right-wing media by storm. Jesse Waters has talked about it. There's a YouTube video from like a creator targeted at kids with over 1 million views about it. And I just wanted to call in because Hassan interviewed someone who used to be on the city council there and debunked the whole thing. Apparently that building has had code violations for over 4 years, and the city was about to close on it. And then this guy called up a PR firm who came up with the idea that since there's a large Venezuelan population there, they should say he couldn't keep it up to code because a Venezuelan gang was in control of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then I just kind of wanted to tie that into why I think the Democrats caving on immigration to the right is a very dangerous thing, because the immigration issue, as well as we know it's not as big of an issue as a lot of people make it think, but it does really motivate people because it does drive fear. And you see, like I said, you see people like these creators who are targeted at kids and are supposedly apolitical, making videos about it saying, oh, there's Venezuelans everywhere taking over the city, you should be scared. And when you have no counter message to that, I just worry that it's going to become an issue that starts turning normal people into reactionaries when it comes to migrants and immigration. Because, when you have no counter message and all that, it's just really disturbing to see normal people consuming this content and just taking it at face value. When you see something like this that takes 3 seconds to debunk, and even Cenk from the TYT was tweeting about it and talking about how they need to get this gang out of there. Really, in order for this gang to have taken it over, in order for this gang to have quote unquote taken this place over, they would have had to teleport it back in time 4 years when these code violations started happening. And also, this same slumlord has been having this happen to multiples of his buildings. So I guess the Venezuelans are only targeting, the buildings that this guy owns. So that's
Venezuelan gangs classically will look at code violations as as low hanging fruit.
Yeah, it's two things. You need mountains for the guerrilla retreat, so they got the Rockies right there, and then you need the code violations to present the opportunity.
Exactly. Good on Hassan for doing this. I think that's one of the best services that he provides, is that he's much more in tune with what's going on in that sort of world. I try and keep up with that. But, I'm an old man who... you have
to be kind of terminally online to a certain extent.
Hopefully, I don't know if my son Saul is listening, and maybe next time he'll come in, he'll tell us the story of when we were talking about Taylor Swift. Because one of the things I worry about is, we try and do a little bit of this, but, I just don't have the savvy when it comes to what's going on TikTok and who are these sort of teen right-wing, grifters, is to sort of, in the fun half, is to inject ourselves into the algorithms of people who do consume that kind of stuff, so that we can be somewhat of an antidote. I'm glad Hassan is out there doing that kind of stuff. It's really important. It sounds ridiculous. As I articulated, if I was having a conversation with me 12 years ago, or 14 years ago, or 16 years ago, and I'm like, there's going to be a 15-year-old kid on Justin TV or whatever existed at that time, talking about Venezuelan gangs taking over a place in Aurora, Colorado. We really need to sort of push back on that. I would have been like, you're insane, dude. But that's the culture that we have right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like obviously he was watching the video as I'm watching the stream, and it was just like I've been frustrated with politics like often, but it was so frustrating to see this guy go up to locals and they're like, yeah, there's no Venezuelan gangs taking this over. There's nothing with that. And then he'll come away and be like, oh, well, they're Venezuelans. So they're like trying to cover up for their group. And I see why they would do that, and I respect it. And then another person who's like, yeah, I don't pay rent at this building anymore because it's so in disrepair. But also the Venezuelans have a lot of garbage in this place, and like they're kind of taking it over. And so it's just like so frustrating to see people come to this point, but then blame immigration instead of a slumlord. When, you know, and I don't blame them, because who's out here counter messaging from the mainstream media perspective? You know, it's just like you guys in left wing media who, I mean, you're never going to have the billionaire backing to reach an audience like a CNBC, or when Kamala Harris goes out there and is like, we do need a strong border. So, you know, I just kind of wanted to bring that up and talk about, you know, how important it is to do research, and then also show the importance of counter messaging these things from a Democratic Party standpoint. Yeah,
or just, you know, from broadly, just like a progressive standpoint, just in terms of society. But yeah, I appreciate the call.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Godless heathen. I also wonder if the Fed mortgage rates are contributing to older people hanging on to their empty nest 4-bedroom homes. I imagine that gorgeous 25 square 100-foot house they bought in the 70s for $85K makes the 800 square foot house for $300K look especially unappealing when the current mortgage rate is 7%. There is no doubt that people, I mean, when you're talking about downsizing, there's a different dynamic, right? I mean, and I know this just in terms of like, you know, having seen my parents do this and sort of like what the cost of their housing stock is. When you're downsizing, a lot of times those places get bought with cash, particularly when the rates are up. But it is the case, like, okay, let's say I've got that $85,000 house, and let's say it's worth $300,000 now. I can turn around, I can sell it, I can put that money in my pocket, I can turn around, buy something else for $300,000, but I can get, a return on that 4 or 5% and keep it in my bank. Take the mortgage out, pay 6% on the mortgage. I can get 4% return maybe on like a high yield, money market or something. The point is that people are staying put where they are because it doesn't make sense for them to move. They may have too much house, or they may need to want to move for work or whatnot, or, whatever's going on. But people are sort of stuck, I think, because of those mortgage rates. I think that is an issue, but it really is about building. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.